Right, you want a summary of the last 2 sessions? I can do it in just one word. Mind flayers. You want it in 2 words? Many mind flayers. Some of these mind flayers were like guards that we had to fight our way past. Some of these mind flayers were like scientists that were hooking people up into containers like they were playing some sort of fantasy version of the Matrix movies. Some of these mind flayers were like janitors hosing down empty pods like they were cosplaying Breaking Bad. And one of these mind flayers at least was Extrematon, the big bad mind flayer that was on the cusp of turning into an elder brain so he could take over the world. So, of course, we fought our way past the first group, we talked our way past the second group, the third group were very, very helpful. We took a minor diversion to them to see if any of the victims who had been hooked up to these Matrix machines were maybe Kuatoa, which of course are the people that I've been sworn to protect, or maybe they are Lantix, which is the brother of Ember, the person that she's been looking for this whole time. And finally, after all of this, we find ourselves face to face with Extrematon, the mind flayer that, shock horror, I discover was in fact Mrs. Mittens, my mother. I mean, we all actually knew that within the party. Like, it's not actually surprising for us, but you better believe my character didn't know that. So if he had a mouth that could actually open, you'd better believe he was very shocked Pikachu face in that moment. So Extrematon himself we found in his kind of Matrix architect room, surrounded by the magical CCTV cameras which are showing the interior of the Undermountain. We had a little bit of a tete-a-tete with him, a bit of a monologue on his side as he gives us this welcoming speech, during which time we're shown flashes on the screens of what's going on inside the Undermountain, kind of illustrating what he's saying as he's saying it. So he tells us how we have been very helpful as a party. We wiped out the Gith and the Red Dragons. I've mentioned before that our party is kind of like the ship of Theseus at this point, in that, of course, none of the original characters are left alive, and yet the party itself is still considered the same entity. Like, we've got the same paperwork in our pockets and things that we've carried with us. Therefore, legally speaking, we are the same, whatever. And of course, so he then points out to us the things that our party have done in the Undermountain, the people that we agreed to kill, the promises that we made, the promises that we broke, the devastation that we've left behind. And he shows us, for example, Willow's Wood, the beautiful leafy green forest level of the Undermountain, and how it looks terrible these days, all broken and ruined. And we see a grave within Willow's Wood and a hand bursting up out of the ground. He then shows us Ember's brother, Lantix, killed off screen on the 6th floor by a womp or something, and then cleaned away by a gelatinous cube, which is why we never found his remains. He shows us Faustus's wife down in the lower levels with Arcturia, one of Hallister's apprentices. And then we see another of his wife, and then another, and then another, and then another. He shows us the Kuatoa, 2 floors down, apparently with some sort of water genie. He shows us the next floor down, the vampires that we've promised to kill. And finally, while we're being shown all of these things, I step forwards and I tell him, "I see now that I have been misled. You are no parent of mine." And as I say this, we see a flash to the bottom terminus level of the Undermountain, and Tobriel, one of Hallister's apprentices, who was the man that created me, and thus, I guess we could say, is my real father. So anyway, we started blasting, and of course, we took him down. That was never really an issue, never a doubt. Auric, our dragonborn artificer, he has now been reborn in the party as a rock gnome fighter / paladin, and I have to say he's a lot more effective in that role. He's doing a very good job. And so yeah, together we easily took him down, and as we were whittling down his health, the screens in the room were kind of turning off one by one until finally he was dead and all of the screens were black. For a little while anyway, because after just a couple of minutes, we start to see one of them turn back on. And then another, and then another. No, we don't have time to short rest, sorry. The screens are turning back on, only now they're showing locations very nearby, in the nearby rooms. And we see there the scientist and the janitor and the soldier mind flayers, and we see sudden pandemonium and panic as one of them just suddenly starts bursting additional tentacles out of themselves and growing in size, and no one knows what's going on. They're like, whoa, what's happening? It looks like he is transforming into an elder brain. And we very quickly put 2 and 2 together as a party, and for once we come up with the right answer as we realize, yeah, it looks like there's definitely going to be an elder brain in this mind flayer colony soon. Sure, we've killed Extrematron, it's no longer going to be him, but it's just going to be someone else instead. The only way to stop this happening would be to literally kill every single mind flayer on this floor, and our party is wiped out by this point. You know, literally, I've used every single spell slot, class feature, everything. I am tapped out. I'm on like half health. We need to leave. We need to rest, right? So with my last 2 spell slots, one of them which I got through the Pearl of Power, which I've got, I realized that we need to kind of send a warning. We as a party are no longer in a position that we can stop this happening. We've just delayed it, maybe. We need to send a warning to Waterdeep to say, guys, there's an elder brain coming, prepare yourselves. So to do this, I mean, I don't have like sending or anything like this, so we had to be a little bit creative. So instead, what I did is I wrote down a message on a piece of paper, rolled it up, put it inside a bottle, cast Summon Elemental, put the bottle inside the Elemental, and sure, we can only summon him for 1 hour, and it's a little bit hand-wavy with the rules, but we basically say, look, can you please take this bottle to Waterdeep, deliver it to the Harpers, that of course my character is a member of, and inform them that this threat is coming. Will he manage to get to the surface with a message in just 1 hour? Probably not. I don't think so. Is that my problem? Nope, my conscience is clean. So yeah. And then I have 1 final spell slot left, and I use it to cast Contact Other Plane to try and speak with my god, Klabu. And let's be honest now, that spell does have a chance of backfiring, and if it does, that would be hilarious because I would go insane until my next long rest, essentially dooming the party. But fortunately, it does work, and I find myself talking to my god. Of course, it's not really my god, it's just some random extraplanar entity that we're cold calling here because Klabu doesn't exist, but my party don't know that, I don't know that, we're talking to Klabu. And so I contact him and I say, can you tell the Harpers that the Elder Brain is coming to Waterdeep? Yes, he says. Okay. And will you actually tell them? Sure, he says. Okay, thanks. So, is there anything I can do for you, my lord? This is a huge favor you are doing for us. We're so appreciative. Is there anything that we can do to glorify your magnificence more? Chestnuts, he says. Chestnuts? I had no idea that my god liked chestnuts. News to me. Fine, from that moment forwards, I am Shield the Chestnut Knight, and Ember right there casts Druidcraft, and I'm now bedecked in chestnuts. Why not? And finally we ask, where are you, my lord? We've been to many places in this fantastical adventure. Where do you reside, that we might find you one day? And he tells us, to our surprise, that he's below, just a few floors down. Amazing. So after this, we attempt to head to the next level, and I say attempt because, you know, the DM made sure that it was as challenging a descent as there's ever been. I mean, I already mentioned we as a party tapped out of spell slots, running on empty. I'm actively concentrating on a summon elemental spell, and yet he decides to throw a bunch of mind flayer thralls at us, deep dwarves, all sorts like this. Very frustrating, but eventually we do manage to go down to the next level. We do level up. I take an extra level in fighter, and we end up on the floor of Vanrak Doom. Vanrak apparently being a prominent person in Waterdeep. and this whole floor has a real film noir slash horror vibe to it. You know, it's lots of fog. The colours are literally desaturated. I'm suddenly wearing a trilby and a trench coat for some reason and smoking a cigar. And everywhere we go, we're seeing shadowy figures that never quite seem real. You know, among them, there's this shadowy dragon that just seems to keep vanishing every time we cast like daylight or a similar spell. And Ember is basically constantly casting daylight down here. We find a statue to Shah, the Lady of Nothingness. There's a cloaked figure kneeling in front of it, which vanishes as soon as we approach. We see tapestries that have been shredded by claws, and we see a vision. We have this flashback to a vision where we're suddenly this nobleman standing outside with his friend beside him. We're wearing clothes that seem very outdated, maybe like 300 years old. And this friend, he turns to us and he says, "We're the best of friends, Glister, are we not? We're about to go on a dangerous quest into the Black Forest." And finally we come across this room which has like a magic mouth spell or something in it, which calls out, "Turn back now, abandon hope," as we walk through and ignore it. Ember, as is her usual MO by this point, she casts Commune with Nature to kind of get a feel for the floor. She wants to know, are there any important buildings nearby? Are there any undead on this floor? Yes, comes the answer. There's lots of undead on this floor. Great. Important buildings. There's a large church-like building. That away. Great, we think. That must be where those vampires that we promised to meet must be. /kill. Let's go, right? So the session ends with us finally entering this room, and we see this like child wearing rags with bright red eyes. Roll initiative, says the DM, and we pick it up next time. So yeah, overall, very exciting couple of sessions. Lots of combat, lots of twists and turns, some nice role play and consequences for our characters and our party. And of course we leveled up, which is always nice. Some sad news, it seems that our party member Gakar has unfortunately decided, or maybe not, we don't really know, we've lost contact with him, but it seems that he might have decided to kind of drop out of the group. So we're back to being a party of 4, but that's no bad thing because we're a solid group at this point. Ship of Theseus we might be, but a good ship we are. And we've got clear motivations, we've got clear goals, and yeah, it's going to be fun to see what happens in the next session with these vampires. But for now, that's everything in this video. If you've watched this to the end, thank you so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that lovely good YouTube stuff. And in the meantime, take care.